Hello everyone. Welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Jude Cornett, and last weekend I played in the Calling Portland, and very fortunately I ended up making third, fourth in the Calling Portland on Zen. And so I thought I might as well make a video talking about my Zen deck, talking about why I played some of the cards that I did, what some of the macro strategies are, how I sideboarded, how I came to that list, and additionally at the end of it, uh, also I'm going to open this gold foil that I got from the calling. So let's get into it, shall we? So Zen is a strong hero for many reasons. Some of those reasons include he's hero from Part the Mistveil, which means he gets access to Traverse the Universe, one of the best headpieces ever printed. Effectively, with Traverse the Universe, once you've transcended, um, you immediately on one turn of the game, you get access to either a 6-card hand, you get access to blocking a disruptive on hit while still having a good turn, or if you have a hand that you really need to push, you can just block with Traverse, effectively guarantee that you're going to have a strong hand, and then push back for a lot of damage. Additionally, because Zen is a ninja, his hands are very scalable. That means that he can send like a 1-card 4 with, if you have an inner chi in your hand, you can grab a tiger into your hand from your hero ability. You can get a tiger swipe. If you have Shuko, it's even a 1-card 5. On 2-card hands, you can deal more damage. On 3-card hands, more damage, 4, 5, etc. Which means that with the right hands, no matter what your hand size is, you're going to be consistently outputting more damage, and you're not going to be left with dead cards in your hand, which is very inefficient. Additionally, he also has one of the best equipment suites in the game. I already talked on Traverse the Universe, but additionally he gets access to 12 Politic Messiah, which generally generates you somewhere between 4 and 6 resources over the course of the game, and then it also blocks for 2, or in certain matchups you can destroy it to make a Zen State token, which is more relevant in some matchups than others. We'll get to that later. He additionally has access to Tiger Swipe Shuko. This deck is very based around trying to maximize Tiger Swipe Shuko. Some of the ways that we're doing that is any turn that you get to play 2 tigers, that gives you 1 additional value off of Tiger Stripe Shuko. Um, and so we're running cards to make more tigers for that exact reason. Not more cards, but 1 card that specifically would not be nearly as playable if we didn't have Tiger Stripe Shuko in our deck. And then additionally, I was talking about scalable hands. Additionally, he just has some of the best numbers in the game when you're transcending. For example, if you have Chase the Tail, Aspect of Tiger Body, either of them in your hand, if you have a Chi in your hand and a blue, you can swing Tiger, Taming Kakara, play your Tiger for 1, Chase the Tail for 4, play Aspect of Tiger for 3, and then play your last Tiger, triggering your Shuko, which means it's coming in for 4, which is 2, 1, 4, 10, 14, which 14 value for 3 cards is incredibly good rate. That's more than 4 value per card. 4 is generally, I mean, in modern Flesh and Blood, sometimes it's not the max for what heroes can generate, but a lot of the time, 4 value per card is very good. However, every hero has weaknesses, and here are some of the weaknesses of Zen that I was trying to, if not eliminate, then at least minimize with my deck list. Some weaknesses of Zen and Ninja in general is that they don't block well. Most ninjas have a lot of 2 blocks in their deck, and then additionally, Zen also has his 9 energy, and so his 9 energy do not block at all, which means that at a minimum, almost a sixth of your deck doesn't block at all, and quite a bit more of it blocks for 2, the way that most Zen decks are built. Additionally, he's vulnerable to disruption, kind of for the previously mentioned reason. Like, for example, if you have a lot of 2 blocks in your deck and your opponent sends a Command and Conquer at you, it's going to be very difficult for you to block it. And so if you're getting hit by disruption, a lot of the time you can send your 3-card 14 or whatever, but if your opponent hit you for 6 with a CNC and destroyed your arsenal, that's a way they can kind of claw back some of that value. And then additionally, if they have defense reactions, they can kind of claw back more of that value. Another issue, which has been an issue that Zen has had since he came out in Part of the Mistveil, is in games where you don't see a Transcend card early, you struggle, because once you start Transcending, once you get a Chi into your deck, it turns on Traverse the Universe, which means that you can block with Traverse, you can, once you block with Traverse, you can grab a Chi from your deck, and a lot of the time that allows you to pull ahead. But if the game goes very short, say 4 or 5 turns, and you're never able to transcend, or by the time you transcend, you have to take a lot of damage to do it, and you get very far behind, you can struggle. And then additionally, this one's a little bit more minor, and it's more easily solved. But there were some people back in MST meta that basically were just trying to fatigue Zen, if because back when he had access to Art of War, he would have this really big turn where you would attack him, he would block with Traverse, he would block with Stride of Reprisal, which we don't run anymore, but he would block with Stride of Reprisal, and play a big 7-card hand with Art of War. And if you never attacked him, he sometimes could struggle to push through enough damage to be able to kill you before he ran out of cards in his deck, and just had Chi in his deck. Okay, here are the ways that I tried to solve some of these problems. So in Aggro Mirrors, if you don't draw Transcend early, you can fall very far behind, and then by the time that you do Transcend, you don't have the life buffer, and you end up being so far behind that even Traverse the Universe and 12 Volta Kasaya and all these incredible pieces of equipment aren't able to save you. And so the way that I was trying to make these aggro mirrors more consistent, I still felt like Zen was pretty favored into them regardless, but I didn't want the matchups to be favored. I want the matchups to be not deterministic, but very, very good for me. And so the way that I aim to do that is I put a bunch of defense reactions in my sideboard, and I also um, made the deck in a way where I had the ability to board into almost all 3 blocks in the matchups that I wanted to. And so what that looks like is, rather than running a card like Growl or a card like Flex Claws, both of which cards I think are very good, and are especially good into Enigma, right? Because they have natural go again, they allow you to push ward, etc. Into Aggro Mirrors, if your Aurora opponent is presenting 4/4/4 or 4/4 Tunic 4, Tunic 2 off of Starfall, and then send a Snatch at you to end the chain, and you're sending Growl at them without a Tiger because you haven't transcended this game, you're going to fall behind. But then additionally, if you just block with that Growl, you're also going to fall behind. Because if you're blocking with a 2-block, that's just fundamentally inefficient compared to your opponent who's sending 4 value per card. And so if you have 3 blocks in your deck, what that means is that if you aren't able to transcend early. If you're able to transcend early, generally you're going to, between Traverse, Kasaya, and Shuko, in addition to your high value plays, you're going to just be able to outvalue your opponent. But if you aren't transcending early, what D-Reacts and 3 blocks allow you to do is they allow you to extend the game to the point where you are able to transcend, and then from that point you're able to pull ahead. Additionally, E-Strike and Sink Below. The biggest, Sink Below kind of falls into the D-Reacts column as well. But the biggest thing about E-Strike and Sink Below that they allow you to do is they allow you to dig deeper into your deck for Transcend. So one of the best plays in this deck is if you're able to block 6 to 10, or usually it's like 9 to 10 with 2-3 blocks, and then, or I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you're able to block with some cards, and then on your turn you're able to keep E-Strike and another card, generally in your entire deck, the way that I have the sideboard set up, you're only going to have 1 or maybe 2 cards that you wouldn't want to arsenal with E-Strike. And so by going E-Strike draw, rather than digging 4 cards per turn to find Transcend, you're digging 5 cards because you drew 4 cards on your turn, and then additionally you got to draw that 1 card off of E-Strike, which you put in your arsenal, and allows you to find Transcend earlier. And then Cosmic Awakening is really great. It's basically a catch-all for non-disruptive fatigue decks. For disruptive fatigue decks, it gets a little bit tougher. It's not as easy because you do need to keep a 4-card hand for it. But Cosmic Awakening in general, the issue that Zen had before was he would get down to the point where all he had was a bunch of Chi left in his deck, and he couldn't do anything. Now with Cosmic, you just 20 your opponent, and then you probably 20 them again if they are truly not trying to disrupt you. If they are trying to disrupt you, it gets more difficult, but this is kind of where we go with that. All right, so from there, I'm going to talk about my matchup spread. So not only did I play in the Calling, I also played in the City Series Finale, which is a local cash tournament series that is run by Travis of Fab Foundry. It was a great series. If I'd imagine he's probably going to do another one next year. Really great series of events. I highly recommend them. I played almost the exact same list as I played for my for the Calling. I believe I subbed 1 or 2 cards. I'll talk about that when I get to the deck tech. But first round, so basically the way this worked is there were six cash tournaments earlier in the year. There was a point system, and then there was a top eight bracket based on the point system. Um, round one of top eight, I played against one of my locals, Sadat, on Azalea. It was an interesting game for sure. I think Azalea is a difficult matchup for Zen, but I was higher seed, so I got to choose to go first, which was nice because it meant that I wasn't at threat of getting dominated by a red in the ledger early. I played, I believe, 3 or 4 Chase the Tails that game for full power, which I think was probably what ended up winning me the game. There was a little bit of a scary scenario where he sent a Remorseless for 14 at me. I had, I wasn't able to afford to not, uh, I wasn't able to block it out, but I still wanted to have good damage on my turn. So I ended up blocking with one card, taking quite a bit of damage, and then on my turn going Kakara. I believe it was Double Transcend, Kakara, Tiger, Chase, Break Pouncing Paws, Tiger, CNC, and that allowed me to put them to 1 and then pull ahead. But I did have to take 4 ticks of Remorseless, which meant that I was down to 5, which meant that with their 4 card hand, if they were able to present 13 Dominate, I died exactly. But any other sequence of cards, and I would have won, and that was what happened. Top 4, I played against Justin Salmon on Aurora. It was not a great game for him, I won't lie. He was trying to set up Flicker Arc against me because he didn't want to get blown up by 12 Volta which is reasonable. I think it's a good strategy. However, he Arsenal to Flicker early and basically was kind of depending on all the defense reactions in my deck to kind of clunk up my hands, which didn't end up happening. I was able to transcend, I think, 3 or 4 times that game, and then was able to seal the deal with Traverse. In the finals, I played against Enigma. My Enigma opponent was on a more attack action focused build. They were running Pummels, they were running Weakest Links, they were running Miraging Metamorphs. It was an interesting game. It was the life totals made it look a lot closer than it actually was. However, because of Traverse, it ended up not being particularly close, and he wasn't able to transcend in a timely manner to threaten his own Traverse to try and push lethal when I was at a low life total and stick a mirror guy, etc. Okay, well that was it for the city series. Now on to the calling. So day 1 of the calling, I resleeved my deck. I was a little bit, I almost ran out of time to resleeve my deck, so I kind of had to rush to my round 1. Round 1, opponent was on Betsy. Betsy Zen is an interesting matchup if they're on fatigue, and if they're on aggro, I just hedge enough D-reacts that it's not really relevant. They were on a more aggressive build. It was not a particularly close game. I think I ended the game at 16 with Traverse and Shuko, or not with Traverse up. I used Traverse, but with Shuko and Kasaya up. And they had a lot of armor, but when you're sending a lot of vanilla damage, the value of armor kind of goes down. Round 2, I played against Aurora. I played against Blake Meyer, who does some of the commentating for AGE. It was not a particularly great game for him. I was drawing a lot of defense reactions at opportune times. I didn't transcend until turn 4 or 5, but once I transcended, I was able to just kind of outvalue him. He drew one hand that was kind of bricky, and that kind of sealed the deal. Round 3, I played against another one of my locals, who's in the City Series finale as well, although I didn't play against them on new. This game was kind of rough for me. I think there were 1 or 2 points where I lost myself the game. The first point was he sends Beckoning Mistflight at me, pitching a Levels of Enlightenment with 3 more cards in hand and a card in arsenal. And after some deliberation, probably not enough deliberation, I decide to block with Pouncing Paws. He immediately punishes me with Siren Skull, and I fall very behind from there. Additionally, I believe there was one other point where I made a misplay, but I'm struggling to remember it now. Anyway, if I was going to lose, I was happy to lose to a local, and it was a good game overall. Round 4, I played against Brody Spurlock on Viserai. It was a pretty good game. He went first. He got a Malefic, Rune Chain off Grasp, and Read the Runes out turn 0. I played 2 Warmongers that game, although the Warmongers were kind of hurting me as well because I drew an Ancestral Harmony off of E-Strike that I wasn't able to play because of the second Warmongers. However, I had a really strong turn where he was setting up, kind of hoping that I wasn't able to convert a 5-card hand, and my 5-card hand was the aforementioned Ancestral Harmony. Transcend card, Sacred Art, and then Chase the Tail, which meant that I was able to go Ancestral Harmony with Ancestral Harmony, not a big deal. Preserve Tradition, gain a resource. Sacred Art, pitching the Preserve Tradition Chi, getting another resource, putting me up to 2. Grabbing a second Chase the Tail using my Zen ability, and then going Tiger, Chase, Tiger, Chase, Tiger for I think like 22-ish damage, and that put me pretty far ahead. Round 5, I played against Aurora. I will not lie. This game was not particularly close. I kind of high rolled them. I went second, double transcended on turn 1, drew levels off of my Rising Sun Setting Moon, was able to go levels for +2 and draw, arsenaled, I think it was like another or it was an aspect of Tiger Body, block with Traverse on turn 1, sent a lot more damage at them, and then kind of didn't really let up the pressure, and it was a very short game. Round 6, I played against Bolton. It was actually a really interesting game. I ended up fatiguing them, which is not something I had on my bingo card for the calling, but they were their strategy, they were trying to go for a bit more of a measured approach, just trying to chip me down, and then I believe they were sync belowing Luminas to their pitch deck for endgame. However, I have a lot of defense reactions on my sideboard, so I was trying to keep my life total high using those defense reactions, and then while also pushing damage. And eventually, I was able to make them block with enough cards where by the time they got back to their Lumina stack, they weren't quite able to kill me. It was a very good game though, and I was pretty afraid up until the last couple turns that I was going to lose, just because they had a good amount of threats left in their deck, and I was basically out of defense reactions, so I didn't have a whole lot left to block other on hits. And then last round of the day was Kano. This game was actually on stream. This game was interesting. I didn't necessarily feel like I outplayed my opponent. I think my opponent maybe made a mistake with not playing Open the Floodgates, or not having the resource to play Open the Floodgates because they activated Crucible on their Aether Wildfire. However, I still felt like I played as well as I could. I presented lethal in 2 turns, and I tried to hold as many resources as possible for them comboing. So it's Kano. It's not really that hard to play perfectly into Kano in my opinion, but I still felt like I did pretty well. So end of day 1, I was 6-1 going into day 2. Additionally, something that was really cool is my buddy Anthony, the day before the tournament, asked if he could have my my deck list for the calling, because he was thinking about playing Zen as well. I was like, I would not love to play a Zen mirror, but sure, why not? So I sent him my list, and at the end of day 1, he also was 6-1. He beat Michael Hamilton, which was really cool, and then he only lost in the last round a Zen mirror to Cody Williams, and that was about it. Okay, so on to day 2. Round 8 of the calling, or round 1 of day 2, I play against Aurora. I play against Sadat again. My same opponent from the City Series on Friday. He's playing Aurora instead of Azalea this time, and he messes me up pretty good. I get to transcend turn 0, but it's at the cost of arsenaling a Tiger instead of a real card, which is not particularly great. Additionally, he gets some good value off of, he like plays a Snatch with a card in hand, so I let it hit because it's redundant card draw, and then he's able to convert it with a Sigil. On a later turn, I believe he played 2 Sigils in the first like 2 or 3 turns, and then on one turn, I send a 5-card hand at him. He eats all of it. I have 2 cards in my hand because I drew a card off levels. I transcend, make a Zen State using 12 Puddle Kasaya, and then his 5-card hand is is good against Zen State to the degree, whereas 5-card hand only has 4 damage prevented by Zen State. He had an Electrostatic Discharge, a Lightning Press, 2 attacks, and a Burn Up Shock, which was a pretty rough hand. And I was far enough behind where Traverse wasn't quite able to get me there, but it was a good game overall. Round 9, I played against Aurora. This game was interesting. I kind of just blocked for several turns. I was not really finding Transcend, but I was able to get my life total high using the defense reactions. And then one turn, my plan was to go Kakara into levels, draw a card, just to dig further for Transcend. They go Sigil of Suffering, Channel Lightning Valley. I just choose AB1, Arsenal the levels, and then the next turn I draw into Sacred Art, so I ended up getting rewarded there, although, not necessarily the most skillful play by any means, but it was good. Round 10, I played against Vincent. My opponent played very well. I have a local Vincent that I play against and has beaten me up a lot of times. Notably, they were on Grasp of the Arcanite instead of Vexing Quill Hand, which basically just means that if they have no rune chance, they're less likely to be able to make rune chance. And so we're kind of playing the game. They go first to get a Malefic turn 0, which is pretty good. I'm transcending, but I'm not doing anything particularly crazy. And at a midpoint in the game, after I've seen them either block or play 2 of their 3 Deadwood Dirges, I decide the only way that I'm going to win this game is I have to block out, and I need to hope that my Vincent opponent is going to brick a little bit. And so they did not brick for like 10 plus turns. I was leaking damage, but I was also able to chip some back, and I wasn't taking a ton damage because they weren't able to set up a lot of double rune gates. Additionally, something that was pretty fortunate for me is there was the turn that they activated Spellbound Creepers, they sent only 3 Arcane, and none of it unpreventable due to Vincent's ability, which meant that I was able to just cleanly pitch a blue, block with my other 3 cards, and break the Spellbound Creepers, which was really good. And then they had to have one setup turn effectively to try and kill me, and on that setup turn, I drew levels, Pathful Traveled, and was able to present lethal on them. And forced them to block and then went from there. Round 11, I played against Guy Cohen on Prism. Prism is a really interesting matchup for Zen because if you look at Prism's Zen matchup during MST meta when Zen was at full power, it was really interesting because you would use Arclight Sentinel and you'd use all these other cards to try and shut them down, and you'd try to have a big pivot turn using Soraya and punish the fact that they can't block. However, my deck is very good at blocking. It has a lot of defense reactions. It has 3 poppers, which is not a lot, but whatever. And it also has a lot of ways to get around Herald of Erudition. Guy sent Herald of Erudition at me 4 times that game. He played it for 9, for 5, for 5, for 7, I think. And he did not hit with any of them the entire game. Basically, my strategy in that matchup boils down to try and not bait out Halo because I don't want to give it a ton of value, but once he uses Halo, the game is a lot easier because it means that A, if I have a popper, I can just pop his first Herald, and then B, if I don't need to be as careful with whenever I activate Zen because he can't Halo use Judgment bottom my Tiger Swipe or whatever. So that game was pretty interesting for that reason. He didn't. I believe he only hit with like 1 or 2 heralds up until like turn 8 or 9 of the game. I was able to just basically block out most of his stuff. I was able to hold defense reactions for the rats that he drew, and the game was scary in that if he hits with 1 or 2 heralds, I had to block with Traverse pretty early, so I didn't have that catch-up mechanic if he was able to pull ahead. But I was able to just barely squeak it out. So at this point, I am 9-2. I'm playing my win in for top 8. And I'm playing against CYB New. I'm playing against Victor Mercado, who has not lost a game the entire weekend. So I'm, as you can imagine, a little bit nervous. But I actually played against him in a side event on Friday after the City Series, and ended up getting there. I was playing a very similar deck to my deck in the Calling. I'd imagine he was playing a very similar deck as well. And so the game went very well for me. I had to break Pouncing Paws turn 1, but it was because it allowed me to double transcend via Sacred Art and Drop in the Ocean, which meant that I was able to push a lot of damage. Something that happened, which usually doesn't happen against CIB New, is I believe I actually killed him before he had played all 6 of his Count Your Blessings, which usually does not happen. He hit me with some good disruption, but I was able to basically take the life lead that I had and use it to the degree where on the turns that he had his Count Your Blessings, he wasn't able to take enough damage where he was able to count your blessings and send meaningful disruption. And so he would gain life off of count your blessings, and then I would present another 15 at him because he wasn't disrupting me. So that game was really good. So I ended 10-2 at 4th seed into top 8. And then my top 8 game was against Sandscour Azalea on stream. I felt like it was a really good game. Both I felt like I played it well, in addition to my opponent played it well, and it was just a good game to watch. Basically, I have levels transcend turn 0, which means that I generally can leak through damage through blocks, especially decks like Azalea that might have no blocks, they might have 2 blocks, etc. I present, I believe their hand blocks for 10, so I believe I present 16, so 6 over blocks, leaking them down to 34 turn 0. I arsenal another transcend card, and they send Remorseless for 8, no other on hits at me. I think for a while, and I eventually decide to block with Traverse, Kasaya, and a Flick Flack because I have Sacred Art in hand. I have a quick judge call where I'm trying to determine what I should target with Passover because they have no equipment in Banish, and it was basically just what is the text of Memorial Ground, because if I pass over targeting a attack action and they Memorial Ground it, um, it's very bad. It's like a difference of like mathed it out. It's like 10-ish damage. It's so much damage. Um, so got that sorted out, banished the list with Blood Rot, sent a lot more damage at them. I believe I knocked them down to 21, or maybe even a little bit lower by the end of that turn. Um, maybe even 16. I don't fully remember. But they kind of start putting me in the disruption loop, but I'm at such a high life total where I'm fine blocking out and not necessarily waiting for them to run out of disruption, because they're not really going to run out of disruption. I'm waiting for them to have a turn where their disruption doesn't line up well with my hand. Um, and so on that turn, my plan is basically I'm going to leverage my life total. I'm going to be at a lower life total because Azalea's going to leak damage. That's just how that works. But I'm hopefully going to be able to take some damage, play one more big turn, put them into a blocking pattern, and then win from there. And that's basically what happened. They had one turn where they just battering bolted me. I just preserved traditioned. It was still good. They got a card out of my hand and leaked 9. But on my turn, I was able to send 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 6, I believe, which was enough with me chipping them down with E strikes and CSCs and stuff like that to get them to 1. On their turn, they played a Codex. I drew my grain that tips the scale. I got an E strike because I wanted to be sending a 6, which I could push over to 7 with grain that tips the scale. I block with a card, send my E-Strike, they block 6, I grain up to 7, and I just barely get there. After the game, they flipped over the top part of their deck, and it was their second paper scene, which was um, unfortunate for them, but, that's just how it goes sometimes. And then on to top 4, I played against the COB new that I played against in Swiss and on the side event on Friday. And this was a very interesting game. It was a long game, just in terms of turns. I felt like I played pretty well. I wasn't trying to play for the camera per se, but I didn't want to waste time. Um, Maybe that's not the right perspective to take if we're playing in the top 4 of a calling, but um, I I don't know. They won the die roll, which meant they got to make me go first. I drew a lackluster hand turn 0, and I just swung Kakara, trying to filter some reds out of my hand so I could transcend early and pass. Very unfortunately, they were able to play Count Your Blessings on my first turn, which immediately put them ahead. And then they additionally were able to play 2 CNCs in a row to my Flicklack that I was IPing in hand, which was unfortunate as well. Um, Despite that, I felt like I battled the game back pretty well. They managed quite a few chi off the top of my deck, and in the end game, rather than being able to, they were able to get 1 Cosmic out of my deck, and then rather than being able to Cosmic for 20, I was only able to Cosmic for 15. In the end, they fatigued me with basically blocking with the last blocking card in their deck, and then running me out of cards. It was a really great game. Victor played very well. He had a great weekend. He deserved it. He played very well. It was unfortunate to lose, but I got top 4, so I felt really good about that regardless. So that's about it for the um, tournament report. Now let's get into the deck. Okay, so if you look at the deck, you can kind of see some of the macro strategies that we were trying to fix with issues that I found with previous iterations of Zen, which is that the number of 3 blocks in this deck is very, very high. We're running Breed Anger, which is a card that works very well with Tiger Stripe Shuko. It's worse than Chase the Tail, obviously, but on a turn where you're like, play a Transcend card, or play a like a starter, like 100 wins or whatever, play a Chi to gain your resource. Now you have a resource curve of like four resources, which means that you put 2 into Kakara, you put 1 into like a Mauling Key as your chain ender, and then you have like 1 more to spend. If you have Chase Aspect, obviously that's better. But if you don't, and you're trying to leak damage, Breed Anger is also very reasonable, in addition to being more combo cards in your deck for Ancestral Harmony. And so you can go something like, or for example, if you have like a Wind Chakra is another good one. You go like Wind Chakra, Transcend with like any card. You send Kakara, you send a Tiger for 4 off of Wind Chakra. You send Breed Anger, that makes another Tiger. You send another Tiger, that Tiger gets buffed by Shuko for 1, and then you end with like a Mauling Key for 5 on hit 1. And you just sent like a very above rate turn in terms of damage, in addition to sending a lot of really annoying breakpoints, right? You sent a 2, you sent 2 you sent a 1, you sent a 5, which is difficult to block, as anyone who's played against Lexi knows, etc. Um, Additionally, uh, you'll notice that the spinning wheel clicks in the sideboard, these basically only come in certain matchups. They're matchups where we want to be more proactive, but I'll talk about more of that in the sideboarding later. Additionally, some other cards that you might not see in other Zen lists are Tiger Eye Reflex. I think this card's really great. I think the issue that you can have with defensive cards is like Sink Below and Flick Flack. They're really great. However, they get stopped by CNC, and CNC is one of the best cards in Flesh and Blood. And so if you're going to be seeing CNC a lot, ideally, you want to have a card that plays around CNC, and then in addition, there are other cards that kind of hose on defense reactions. And this is just really good against like Codex, Leave No Witnesses. And then in addition, it's a yellow, so you can pitch it into Kakara, etc. Yellow is better than reds for sure. And then the one value and then the Tiger that you get off of blocking with it is really really great as well. A lot of the time, it can enable a chase line. For example, if you have a Chi in your hand and you have a Tiger Reflex, that gives you the additional Tiger that you need for Chase the Tail. And then also, it smooths things out. Into Codex decks, what you can do is, if you only need one Tiger for your turn, you just play this as your Tiger from Banish. You activate Zen, get your Tiger in your hand, and then you just arsenal that Tiger to play around Codex, because it means if they Codex you, you will not have to discard a card because you already have an arsenal when you otherwise would not have an arsenal. Additionally, some cards that I board out in some matchups that people might not normally expect is I board out Command and Conquer into Crown of Providence decks. Basically, ideally the games are going to go long, but not all games are going to go long. And if we are taking damage to send like a Command and Conquer, it's not particularly great. It's even less great if they just block with their head, sink their arsenal, play a 5-card hand into us, and we didn't really make a lot of headway. And that's kind of one of the cards that comes out for this defense reaction suite. Additionally, 100 Winds Red. This is a card that one of the people that I made the deck with loves. I love this card too. It's great with like if you can go like Ancestral Harmony, 100 Winds, any of the like ones that have to target an attack, like Green the Tips to Scale, Path Well Traveled, A Drop in the Ocean. It's great with all of those. However, it is a 2-block, and being able to block for 3 in matchups where you want to extend the game is really important. Okay. Let's get into kind of the macro strategy for sideboarding. There's more than 3 types of matchups, but these are kind of the easiest ones to talk about. And then additionally, I'll post the deck list. The deck list will have, I believe, should be fully upgraded matchups. If there's anything messed up, let me know in the comments, I guess. But the matchup should be pretty much accurate. Okay, so into aggro mirrors, primarily Aurora. Additionally, the mirror, although you play it a little bit differently. Into Aurora, basically your loss condition is if they are sending a lot of damage at you early, they're having efficient hands, and you are not transcending, and you're also not able to block, you can fall very far behind, and then by the time you finally do find a transcend, you're so far behind that you're not able to claw back. And so the way that we're trying to minimize that is if we're running a lot less 2-blocks in our deck, and our opponents are having, and we're not drawing Transcend, it's perfectly reasonable for us to just block a lot of the damage, maybe send like an Easter egg, draw a card, dig closer for Transcend, and keep our life total high so that by the time we do Transcend and we do start doing above rate damage, we aren't so far behind on life that we're not able to bring it back. Okay, so decks where we want to be proactive, Flora to a lesser degree, but primarily Enigma and Viserai. Into Viserai, I basically just hedge that they're on the like Noah Bigelman top 8 world list. That's more Runechant stack focused, because I think that list is a lot better. Basically, what I want to do in that matchup is they are. A lot of the value of making all these Runechants is Ninth Blade, but we can't really necessarily do anything about that. What we can do something about is if they are making Runechants, they're not giving us an opportunity to block on that turn, which means that their goal is for us to have a 5-card hand that isn't able to fully convert. And so, as Zen, as a ninja, we have the ability to do that, but we have to run some of our 2-block combo cards, which is primarily why they're in the deck. And so what we're trying to do in those matchups is we are going to basically aim to punish them for taking setup turns. And then additionally, if they're stacking too many Runechants, and we have a natural chi in hand on the turn that they send all those rune chants, we can activate our 12 Pelta Kasaya, creating a Zen State token, and Zen State token prevents 1 damage from every instance of damage that we would take, which means that if they send a 10 rune chants at us, we will take no damage from any of those rune chants because it's 10 individual instances of 1 damage. Same with Enigma. Basically, I think unfortunately, I didn't get to play against a single Enigma in the Calling. I got to play against one in the City Series, but would have preferred to play against more in the Calling. I think that matchup's very good. You have to run, I think with my list that's more defensively minded, it's a little bit worse, but I think basically if you transcend in the first couple of turns and you draw hands that play, you're very favored. Basically just because with Traverse you have basically a free get out of jail free card where they block with their Traverse, send Mirror Guy. If you have a brick hand, if they send Mirror Guy twice, you probably lose, or if they get to Astro Etchings it or whatever. But if you have Traverse, you just block with Traverse on their Mirror Guy, send a 5 or 6 card hand, depending on whether they also have Disruption or not, and then hopefully be able to present be able to clear their Mirror Guy, and if they're able to clear their Mirror Guy, in general, it's just very difficult for them to keep board on the board, and you present so much damage that it's difficult for them to block out because you're sending all these 2s and 1s and unpreventable damage off Shuko, etc. Okay, and then for Disruptive decks, primarily new, also Victor to a lesser degree, but I don't have as much experience in how exactly you have to play Victor. But primarily into new, what you want to do is you want to run above 60. So into new, what I was doing, actually into Victor, because I knew he was on CWB, I actually also kept in the spinning wheel kicks because I just wanted to have a very high density of cards. But basically, my overall strategy is you want to transcend quite a bit. The more that you transcend, the better off you are because you're able to outvalue them. When they send daggers at you, if they send like a scale peeler at you, you let it hit and then you don't block with armor. That's good value because that means that they sent a blue pitch or 2/3 of a blue pitch or like 2/3 of a card to send 1 damage, which is very below rate. So the point in which daggers are good is when the armor they're getting value on their on hits. But if you're able to deny those on hits, like for example, if they hit with a scale peeler and then you play a flick flack, or they hit with a scale peeler and then you play a sink below or whatever, if you're able to deny the value with that, that allows you to get ahead. And then in the end game, if you're potentially getting fatigued, you want to send 1. Usually it's just one cosmic usually gets there. But then additionally, if you're able to keep up Shuko, you can usually get into these end game states where it's like, if they're at a low life total, you're able to go Kakara, Tiger, maybe another small attack, and then another Tiger with Shuko buff, and basically put them into a blocking pattern. Once they get into a blocking pattern, you pretty much win as the Zen. All right, so let's see. Those are the kind of the main matchups. Again, I'll have all the other matchups in the February link, which I will link to this video. Additionally, let's talk about how I made this deck. A lot of the testing for this deck came with Aurora from Flesh and Bad. Their channel is great. You should check them out. I'll link their channel in the description or like a comment as well. They make really great Zen content, and basically 2 weeks before the calling, I had no idea what I was going to play. I was pretty sure I was going to play either Zen or Enigma, but I didn't have a fully refined. I was not at this level of refining in terms of Zen list or Enigma list, to be honest. Up until then, I reached out to Aurora. They gave me some tips on what their like overall plan is. Plan was for their list. We made a lot of iterations. We played a lot of games. The day before the City Series, I played like 30 games of Talishar. But yeah, shout out to them. They helped me quite a bit. And then additionally, thanks to everybody who congratulated me. There were a lot of people. So also that day I was very tired and a little bit overwhelmed after top 8ing. So if I didn't seem excited, I was excited. I maybe just didn't necessarily have the energy to express that. But yeah, it was really great. There were a lot of people watching my future matches. and it was really great to be able to represent Portland in a calling where we had a lot of really big names show up, like Michael Hamilton, Michael Fang, Bertie Spurlock, a lot of other people, etc. Um, all right, let's see. Is there anything else? I believe there is nothing else until the gold foil opening, so I guess we should do that now. So I'm going to do it the same as the last one. I'm just going to open it towards the camera, and then I'll see it uh, right after you do. Okay, there's a lot of bad ones, but there's also quite a few good ones. So hopefully it's one of the decent ones. Should be that it's the other way. Yeah, it's the other way. So camera's gonna see it first, and I'm gonna see it, and then I'll get this wrapped up. All right, 3, 2, 1. Alluvian Constellus? Okay. That's not the best. It's not like a Arc or Welcome to Wraith one, but it's Wizard. I like Wizard. I like Kano. Um, this is a cool one. Uh, that's pretty cool. Um, anyway, is there anything else I should do? Yeah, let me know if you like this. If you want me to make more videos about different stuff other than just like deck techs or meta discussions. If you want me to make some gameplay, I could definitely be interested in that. But I want to see some input to see what people are interested in. Other than that, thank you everyone for watching. It was really cool to top four the calling. I'm going to be playing in Chicago in 3 weeks. I need to start testing for that. But luckily I'm on Thanksgiving break, so I got some time to do that. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. See ya.